Hi, I'm Haja Dalwal, and I'm in London, England, to sit down with some folks from the London Stock Exchange Group to talk about their recent experiences with Windows 365, Co-pilot, WSL, GitHub Copilot, and much, much more. Let's hear how they did this with great user satisfaction with high security standards. Let's go. Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Jacques and Rehan from LSEG. Let's dive back into the discussion about all things Windows, Copilot, and more. So with all of these great things that you guys, you as a strategist and you implement and all that fun stuff, how did cybersecurity play into all of this, and how did you work with that team? I'm sure they had requirements, and what were those?
So the requirements, I think, are really around, there are two main requirements. The first one is manage the quality of the platform. We want to make sure that if something goes wrong, we can detect it very quickly and we can remediate very quickly. So you have all the tools, the classical tool to detect and to basically isolate the problem before it becomes too bad. And the second one is about data exfiltration. We really want to make sure that our intellectual property, only goes in place where we want it to go. And that's challenging because, like before we were talking about collaboration, how do you foster collaboration without jeopardizing your IP, right?
Yes. Everybody worries about data. Everybody, hey, it's our data. We don't want it to go here. We don't want it to go there. So how did you trust, let's say Microsoft here, with your data and the things that you're doing now in the cloud? And
it starts with an open conversation with Microsoft, which is, okay, this is acceptable, this is not. Sure. Can you tell us a little bit more, especially with Copilot, right? Yeah. How much of our data because Copilot will be more effective if we can use our own data, right? Our own style. But we don't want that to be out there by side effects. So we had strong discussion, cyber-centric conversation with Microsoft to really understand where are the boundaries? Exactly. How is that architect? Yeah. Because basically the same way, Microsoft architect for security, we architect for security. Yes. Security is not something we add after. When we design it, we say, where are the boundaries? Like, for example, there were a few principles. Zero trust networking.
Yes.
Right? Because you are in the office doesn't mean anything. Yes. You don't have more access when you are in the office than when you are home, right?
Yeah, I think one of the key factors in how we've managed Intune is secure by design. And as Jacques said, zero trust. When we first implemented Intune, going about 3-4 years ago now, within our design, it's always been that regardless of who you are, what device you're using, we wanted to take the human error element out of it. So when a device comes on board, regardless of whether it's a Dell brand, HP brand, Windows 365 brand, hardware or virtualization tool, it's always going to get your baseline security policies and also your security applications. So for example, Defender, EDR applications, antivirus and so on, is all by design to be default out of the box. And that's how we say it's zero trust, but that's how we have implemented our design.
Right, because you've added like conditional access and things like that, right?
Exactly, with conditional access. I don't believe we use MCAS to how it used to be. It's not really designed, but more conditional access now. I think we do touch on MCAS on some of our policies, but mainly conditional access around Windows 365, around the whole Intune implementation that we've put in.
Right, and I believe the concept you are using here at LSEG is least privilege and explicit use, right? It's not like you have full access, it's the other way around.
Yes. Yep. You can elevate, basically if you need to get access to the special room, you ask for the key. Right. You don't have a key. But 30 years ago in the startup I was working in, I used to be able to go in the data centers and install. I was responsible for actually installing my own software. And one day, my badge didn't open that anymore. Oh my gosh, I was saying, I cannot do my work anymore. Actually, after a few weeks, I realized how much of a relief it is. Because when I needed to get access to it, I will explicitly request it. I was protected because it's so easy to make mistake.
It is.
It's so easy. And, and for many developers, to go back to our developer, you cannot get, free access, admin access constantly. But the first reaction is, but I need it. Actually, they very quickly realize they don't need it.
Yeah.
And they can, and actually it's more difficult because it forces Rehan to go and to really think about how do I make their life easier. But once this is designed properly, I think it's
yeah, and I'm sure you're also using EPM, right? For privilege management and stuff like that. So you're doing all the right things. So going back to your developers, so you have all this, you've configured it, you've worked with Microsoft, you fine-tuned exactly what you needed and stuff like that. It's working great. What's the experience like for your developers? What are they saying? How are they liking it? Productivity, collaborating with one another and things like that in terms of coding and building applications?
From a technical and implementation perspective, and how going back earlier where we chose Windows 365 over a physical laptop for developers, not only is it they get the Windows 365 in their correct geographical location, but we are able to uplift their device if needed. So for example, we started off with 4 by 16, 4 CPU, 16 gig RAM device. What makes it easier is if that's sufficient for the developer, they will continue to use it. But if it's not sufficient, if it's something they need uplifting, it's so easy with Windows 365 just to uplift them. That experience is amazing. And what I've seen is a lot of the developers actually have said to me that their experience on Windows 365 is actually a lot better than a physical with the equal with the equal spec.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because Microsoft is optimizing a lot of the drivers, a lot of because
the offloading and all that fun stuff.
Why would you want to be responsible for it, right? And that's a great, this capacity for us to adjust to the actual demand. Today it's 16 CPU, but maybe, Microsoft is constantly, upgrading the data centers. And that's a great capability for us to really find the right cost per productivity gain, right?
Right. So patch management for your devices, Windows 365, your physical and things like that. You're an Intune guy. What are you guys doing? Are you doing auto patch?
We're not doing auto patch, but what we are doing is Windows update rings. So we've got one update ring that's, when I say one, we've got a production update ring that's deployed to all of our devices. And like I said earlier, it's one policy that goes, doesn't matter what device that you're using, you have that one policy. Obviously, we have your pilot rings and dev rings and so on. But one policy goes out to your physical Windows devices and virtual Windows devices. So we are using update rings.
And a low impact on our support. Because, the question is always, okay, you can go fast. I tend to go fast. But how much pain are you inflicting to your people? In the case of the Windows upgrade, it was almost, minimum.
Yeah.
And that's great but I think that this validates all the principle that we did. Keep it simple. In the past, we would have people, creating this golden image. I'm sorry.
You don't need that now.
No. But when I came back 2 or 3 years ago and I say, we don't need golden image, people say, Jacques, you don't know what you're talking about. Now we realize, why would we be worried about drivers? Let the manufacturer decide this. The OS, let Microsoft take care of it. And then you focus on your value add. You focus on your experience and all these things. That is transformative. And I think that's why we want zero trust network. Why would I want to manage VPN? It's just like, let's keep it super simple. Now,
under the hood, simple, and you have productivity, you have creativity, and you have security, right?
Yes.
These are all your users or your people need. And that's why I think your adoption rate is fast, because people just realize they're like, this is great. It works good. I've got all the features I want, right? I always try to emphasize about accessibility features in Windows 11. They're great. It's there for everybody.
Yep.
right? Live captions and things like that, and just make them work a lot better.
A lot more efficient, isn't it?
More efficient.
I mean, you remember, I mean, back in the days of SCCM and so on, you remember when you're implementing a build, like how we've done a developer build and a production build and so on, that you have to think about who's your server engineering team, who's your networking team, whereas now it's all in one place with Intune, where all your policies, your patching, everything's all in one place, a lot more efficient, it's automated. For me, it's exciting.
Oh yeah, it's a great time, right?
And it's developing. That's
Yeah.
that's the best thing. It's developing.
And one final question: Co-pilot, not GitHub Copilot, but Co-pilot. Are you guys using it, and what are you using it for?
I was not a big fan of Bing.
Okay.
Bing is too much in my face for my own taste. But since Copilot, I've switched to Bing. And Bing Copilot. That tells you how important it is.
The evolution.
The evolution
change,
is the way you search is you don't search for things. You tell Copilot what your problem is. And you let Copilot figure out where is the information you are looking for. And actually it's scary sometimes because you ask a question and actually it answers the question that you were not asking. But that was actually your actual questions.
Right, we're talking about generative AI and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
It's almost like speaking to a human and having that interaction.
Let me give you an example. I was redoing some bathroom and I had these two brands that really looks the same. And I asked him, can you compare? And his answer was uncanny. He said, actually, it's the same company, but they are segmented. And he gave me all the information.
Details.
With all that prompt. And
that would have taken you forever to find that answer,
oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's where, in technology, we use it all the time. Can this product do this? And it will come. And it also, what I really like, it gives you an opinion, but it gives you link back to that.
You're not searching anymore, whereas before with search engines, you were searching for your answers. Now you're asking and you're getting the answers back. You're not having to go to...
Search versus ask.
Exactly.
Right. I like that. I hear this a lot in LSEG. Developer joy. What is your take about developer joy?
It's being able to easily produce what's expected of you and what's asked of you as well without minimum hindrance. And one of the things that we've noticed in our journey, especially mixing both end user experience versus cybersecurity and what we block, is meeting in the middle and being able to provide the developer what they want, what they need, and making their job efficient rather than having to spend ages, again, Co-pilot and so on, giving them all the tools that they need to make their job efficient. And it's not taking jobs away. AI is not taking jobs away.
Happy.
It's keeping them happy,
right?
making them
happy
efficient.
Developers make good products and good services, and your customers are happy, right? And your business flourishes.
I'm going to answer it in two parts, your question. The first one I want to give you, the way we deploy these new tools is we go to a team and we do some user acceptance testing. And when everything is ready, we just roll it out. Recently, we rolled it out, to a team, and they came and said, "This is great. We can do everything we wanted to do and more. And can you accelerate the rollout?" That's a great validation.
Accelerate the rollout.
Accelerate the rollout. Can you imagine somebody say, "Come and make my life a little bit more challenging during a week because I know that later on it's going to be better." So now, I don't want to tell you that we are not there with every developer because, developers, you have... So for some, we have been focusing on them.
Get them there ready.
Yes, yes. And so what about developer joy? I think it's about, when they say it takes a developer about 30 minutes to get in the groove. You may remember this typically was late night work, right? You feel like, and you're doing this work and it's flowing out of you and you are building things or you are managing this system and everything is, and suddenly there is something in between, poof, you stop. And the developer joy is about removing this barrier, right? Make sure that these people can be as creative as they can.
Yeah.
But without distracting them. And
compromising security.
And compromise,
and all that
because every time you interrupt a developer, there will be a few bugs put into the code. or you go back and say, what was I thinking?
You distract that flow, don't
You
you?
distract that flow. So developer joy will come because developer likes to produce, right? There is nothing, more exciting is to look at this code that you have written that does these fantastic things.
Yeah.
And you look at your code, it's simple and it's beautiful. That's a joy that you want.
Right
That's
there.
a joy that you want to help
That's the
them
joy.
reach.
And you know what? We're going to go out on a high here with accelerate deployment. Like that is just brilliant.
Yes.
Final thoughts. What's your advice for the world?
Oh my gosh.
I would say whatever you're implementing, so especially from an Intune, especially from Windows 365, plan ahead. Like when we first implemented Intune, we didn't plan for the initial implementation of our laptops because we are a laptop first organization, but we didn't think that we've got this manufacturer laptop and we're going to just deploy for this.
Right.
It's plan ahead for device being device agnostic. Doesn't matter if we are rolling out Windows 365, all of the policies, all of the procedures, all of the implementation is already in place. Small iterations going forward, but once you plan ahead, once you think about
Think ahead.
exactly,
right?
think 5 years ahead.
Not short term, but
Exactly.
yeah. What about
For
you,
me,
Jacques?
keep it simple. Look at every piece of complexity you are adding into your design and ask yourself, is that really necessary? Is the incremental complexity worth the cost of it? Right? Yes, you may be delivering these features, but is that really going to make such a difference? Could you be doing something slightly different? So I love the KISS principle, keep it simple.
Love it. I love it. Both of you, great final thoughts. And thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet
And
you.
Jacques,
you.
all the way from France, thanks
Yes.
for coming over.
It was a
And
pleasure.
we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching Tackling Tech. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something new. Stay tuned for future episodes. Like and subscribe. See you next time.